Welcome back to another Family History Friday video with the Butler Area Public Library. I'm Margaret, and in this video we're going to have an introductory look at the Family Search website. I will show you how to do a basic record search and get familiar with their interface. And then I'm also going to show you their Research Wiki, which is a really awesome tool for learning more about specific regions and kinds of genealogy. So let's get started. To use Family Search, you will want to go to their website, familysearch.org. And the first thing that we are going to look at is how to do a basic search for historical records for your genealogy using Family Search. Now, Family Search is a free site. You do have to sign up, but it's a free account and there is no subscription cost, which is one major perk for users. And there is a lot of overlap in the collections on there with Ancestry. So you will see federal census records, you will see some marriage records, you will see things like the Social Security Death Index or the Find a Grave Index. But then there are also some record collections on here that are unique to Family Search. And even if you've never directly gone to the Family Search website, if you're an Ancestry user, there's a chance that you've actually come across some Family Search records before. So here's an example from an Ancestry search result for Pennsylvania marriages. And as you can see here, the link that you would click to view that marriage record is actually telling you that the image is originally hosted from Family Search. So there's a collaborative relationship between Ancestry and Family Search for some shared records. So this is the homepage for familysearch.org. And at the top is where you're going to find your links to search for records. So right here at the top left, we can see search. And I'm going to click search and hit records. And we all know that a strong search includes 3 points: a name, some kind of date for a life event, and a place. So for example, I'm going to do a search for Patrick Graham, who was born about 1798 and lived here in Butler County. And you can see that I can click on any of these blue hyperlinks to add additional search points. So I can add a marriage location or date, a death location or date, and even add the name of a family relationship. But for now, we're just going to stick with these 3 points. And I'll hit search. So here we can see just a list of record hits that Family Search thinks match the information I put in for Patrick Graham. So we can see here we have some United States Census records, this one from 1880, the name, the birth year, and the location certainly match up, and we can see that he has a spouse and some children living in the house with him. To find out more information about any of the records you see in your search results on Family Search, you can simply click on the record when it becomes highlighted here. You can see it turn green when I hold my mouse over top of it. And that will pop open a little window with some extra info. So here we can see a transcription of some of the data from that census record. So we can see that it's from 1880. He lives in Jefferson Township. He's 82, he's married, he's a farmer. And if we scroll down, we can see the names and relationships of the other people in the household. So we have a wife, stepchildren, and grandchildren. If we want to look at the actual record, right here on the right-hand side, we can click either the thumbnail or the link that says View the Original Document. And there we can see that original 1880 census. You can see down here at the bottom that there is a little window open with that indexed information. If we want to make that minimized, we can simply hit the little tab that says Image Index here at the bottom left, and that will go away. You can double click to zoom in on this image if we want to view it bigger. You can also use the scroll wheel in your mouse if you have that. Or if you look here on the upper left, we have a series of buttons to help you control. So we can hit the plus to zoom in and the minus to zoom back out. We can see here right at the bottom of the page is Patrick Graham and his wife Rebecca. But the rest of the household continues on the next page of the census. We know sometimes these families get split onto multiple pages. To browse between pages and flip this page here on Family Search, you'll just want to look up at the left-hand side, and we can see little arrows here, one facing left and one facing right. If I click that right arrow, that's going to turn the page to the next image. And there at the top of the page, we can see all of these stepchildren and grandchildren who are living in the Graham household with Patrick and his wife Rebecca that we saw on the original index at the beginning of our search. We can use these arrows back and forth to continue looking at the rest of their neighbors, or just to toggle back and forth between the two parts of the family split on the two pages. A few other controls that you'll want to be aware of here when we're looking at images on Family Search are in the upper right. If you click Tools, you can see that we can rotate the image if we need to look at something at a different angle. And we can also hit Adjust Image. There we can control the brightness and the contrast. If you're having trouble making out some of that handwriting, adjusting these might help. We can hit Download, and this will download a full copy of the current image. So if I hit Download, we can see that that appears down here for me, and I will be able to open this up and view the full copy of the original record. So we can see here I have the full JPEG image of this 1880 census. I can also hit Print, but print is only going to print out exactly what I'm seeing on the screen. So it's going to be that zoomed in view. That might be good for me because the grandchildren and stepchildren in the household are only at the top of that page, so I don't technically need the rest of the neighbors, and it will give you some citation information at the bottom. But just be aware that print is only going to show you what you're actively viewing on the screen. We go back to our search results. I'm just going to hit the X in this pop-up to close that. We can see a few other things here, some other census years, a link out to find a grave for a burial record, and some other information that may be matching to some other individuals named Patrick Graham. At any point, if we want to refine the search that we are doing, we can do that here on the left-hand side. These little check boxes next to all of these fields, if I check that off, it will tell Family Search that I want records to match that name or date exactly. I can also adjust the dates. So as you can see here for birth year, there are two boxes. I can put a range in. So if I want to widen this from 1795 to 1805, if I know sometimes I have some inconsistent dating on records for Patrick Graham, I can do that. Since I know his wife's name is Rebecca, I could also click here where it says spouse and put in Rebecca. And if we update that, we can see now that we have just 34 results, whereas before we had a little over 200. So we might have a more refined, more accurate list of records to look at. One last thing that I will point out here is that we can filter the types of records that are showing as we look for Patrick Graham. So here we are seeing everything that matches our search parameters that we have here, which are relatively narrow. If I look up here next to where it says Records on this white tab, there's another tab that says Collections. By clicking that, I can see a list of all of the kinds of records that are matching what I'm looking at right now. And by hitting any of these check boxes next to these collections, I can narrow down. So say I only want to look at census records for Patrick Graham. I can check just those boxes off and hit the blue filter these results. And now I'm only looking at census records here. The next thing that I want to highlight is an often overlooked section of Family Search, and that is their research wiki. So say you want to know when Nevada started collecting vital records. or if you're curious about Greek genealogy, or you're really struggling with reading German handwriting on the records that you have. This is where you want to check the Research Wiki. To find the wiki, you can simply hit Wiki here if you're on a records search page, or from anywhere else in Family Search on your main heading bar up here, you can hit Search and click Research Wiki. Now the wiki has a main search box here that you can use a keyword, or you can kind of browse around by clicking the subjects here for the different continents. We're going to use the search box. So let's work with that first hypothetical question I had where I need to know more information about doing research in the state of Nevada. I'm simply going to type Nevada and hit enter. And here we can see a page with information just about doing genealogy in Nevada. So we can see here that there is a clickable map of all the counties, and if I click on any of these, it will take me to information just about that specific county in Nevada. It will show me the dates of records in that county, tell me about any boundary changes, tell me about major towns and cities and ghost towns, and it will link me out to some websites specific to information about this county. If I go back to the main page about the state of Nevada, we can see that there's a whole list here of different record types. So I can click on any of these to get more information a little more broadly about the state as a whole. So for example, if I hit Vital Records, this takes me to a page about birth, marriage, and death records across the state of Nevada. So this tells me that although some counties have birth records as early as 1887, the statewide, they did not require them to be registered until 1911. Same thing for the death records. It also gives me a list of links out to both collections on Family Search here itself and out to other websites. And it also lets you know if the sites it's linking to are free or if they're ones that have a subscription cost. They also have contact information to contact any research offices or government offices that might have those records, and just provides a little bit of contextual information about the records themselves. So the Research Wiki is really like having a librarian at your fingertips any time of day. Let's try another search. If we type in Greece, we can click Greek genealogy and hit search. And so here is the main wiki page for all Greek genealogy. Again, we can see that we have some different record types here on the right-hand side, so we can go right to a subsection of Greek genealogy. We have a clickable map with all of the regions and prefectures, so if you know a specific place in Greece that you are researching, you can click each of these to get more information. There's also a list of those regions here. So if we, for example, try civil registration, here's our page with information about civil registration records in Greece. It gives me a timeline of when most of these records were created, in this instance between the 1840s and the 1940s. It tells us that birth records are available up through 1945. It tells me what kinds of information were recorded on each of those records, so what is recorded on births, in marriages, and in deaths. In this instance, it even gives an example of a picture, and it shows me where the information is going to be recorded, which is so helpful because Greek is obviously a very difficult language to read for a non-speaker. Let's look at one final example. If you have records in a foreign language or even just written in early American handwriting, you might be struggling to decipher. There are tools to help you here. So the example I was using as a hypothetical would be German handwriting. So if I start typing here, we can see a list of auto-filled options for a lot of German genealogy topics, but the third one there is handwriting. So here we can see a wiki page dedicated to helping you understand German handwriting. We can see some image examples of upper and lowercase German handwriting. We have links to specific handwriting examples for different eras. There's even links out to script generator tools and other interesting tools that are going to help you with German handwriting. There's also a series of downloadable handouts for different German handwriting examples and the different kinds of records that you might be having trouble looking at. Another thing you'll want to look at on the right-hand side here is this link to a German word list. You'll find these for a lot of languages, and this is going to be your dictionary for your German genealogy. You can see here that there are links to not just the alphabet, but keywords like birth, burial, census, death, father, marriage, and then more specific subjects like months, days of the week, times of day, your numbers, and then things like occupation, all these different kinds of farmers, and then a general word list. So definitely refer to this as you are translating your historic documents in other languages.